those of us who are here, are we ready?
Yes.
Very good. Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
you're ready. Okay, microphones are on. Okay, everything's squared away for the broadcast and such. Very good. Thank you. Okay, so at this time, well, we'll get there. Okay. At this time, I'll ask everyone in the room to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
There you go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry.
Okay. All right. So, this evening we have a town meeting with a special public hearing related to the service line warranty program. I'll ask if you have a cell phone, please turn it off or at least silence it and respect the decorum for the meeting. Moving from there, we have some future meetings to discuss. Briefly, the town council will meet again on November 6th at 7:30 p.m. here. The Parks and Recreation Committee will meet November 21st here at 7:30 p.m. Any other meetings we need to be aware of?
Tomorrow night, Citizens Advisory Committee meeting.
Okay, Citizens Advisory will meet here at 7:30. Terrific. Okay.
17th? Yeah,
You mean, is that your quarterly meeting?
I think so.
We'll verify.
Yes, ma'am.
Terrific. Okay, so we also have the Citizens Advisory Committee meeting here tomorrow night, October 17th, so 10/17/17 at 7:30. I've been advised that Commissioner Blanchard will not be able to attend due to a family obligation. I was also advised by Commissioner Sweeney that he will not be able to be here until 8 p.m. tonight, but he does intend to be here. So moving forward from there, we have a single agenda item for this meeting, and that relates to the National League of Cities, the NLC Service Line Warranty Program. The intent of this hearing was to receive public input regarding their position as to whether or not the town should endorse this program. Now, we don't have a full house, though we do have a public speaker signed up. Is that correct? For public comment? Sure, yes.
Yeah, please go ahead.
That would include that. So the issue we're weighing, the root of this issue is whether we see fit at a future meeting to endorse this program. Right now, this is presentational. We are not making a decision on this tonight. Now, personally, of course, you absolutely can, but we're not voting on it tonight. Does that kind of add clarity for everybody? Yes. Okay, very good. All right, so with that in mind, we invite a representative from the Service Line Warranty Program to please come forward. If you would introduce yourself, identify the entity you represent, and the floor will be yours to present basically the information again.
Clicker for the
Oh,
presentation.
all right.
There we go. Let turn off something.
After the presentation, we'll do questions. Will that be reasonable for you? Would you rather ask as we see the presentation?
Are you ready for this off?
No, let him,
You want me-
How did questions work during the presentation?
no.
Okay, so be prepared to be interrupted, and we'll go from there. Okay. When you ask, I'm sorry. When you ask the question, I'll ask you to also come forward, come to the podium, introduce yourself just one time, and then put forward the question. Thanks. Okay, thank you.
So my name is Rob Meston. I'm with the National League of Cities Service Line Warranty Program. The company that I work for is Utility Service Partners. We are the only company that endorses the National League of Cities Service Line Program. They're the only company that they chose to work with, and we fully administer the program through the NLC. We are also endorsed by the Maryland State League as well, so we have a full endorsement from both the NLC and the Maryland State League. USP, we are a A+ better rated Business Bureau company and a regular recipient of the Torch Award, which recognizes marketplace ethics in the industry. So two accreditations that we're very proud of and we continue to strive to maintain and uphold. The program and the NLC had reached out, and the main purpose for the program really is in place to address the aging infrastructure that is going on throughout the country in terms of our water and sewer lateral lines. This helps address the public policy issue that is surrounding this aging aging infrastructure. And it really is in place because the homeowner is invulnerable on the water and sewer lateral lines for that pipe. And the NLC and we like to put a public awareness campaign out to really educate the homeowners and make them aware that the lines that are on their property are their responsibility, and it's something that they need to be aware of. When you have an aging community, an older community with older homes and older lines, we're seeing an increase of more and more issues that are arising. So this program is in place to give them, one, the education that their responsibility, and two, the option to enroll in some form of protection to get those lines covered. There is no cost whatsoever for the city to participate in this program. We seek to gain a partnership with the city first, and by doing that, it allows us to offer this program to the homeowners itself. Several benefits to the program that I do want to point out. One would be the coverage itself. When a homeowner chooses to enroll in this program, they have the option to cover that line up to $8,500 per incident. So if there's a break or there's an issue on that line, they call us and we facilitate the program. It's a complete turnkey approach. So from start to finish, they would contact us, the USP, to file the claim. From there, we would contact a local licensed plumber to come out and take a look and get an idea of what needs to be done. And then they complete the work themselves, and then all the billing goes through our end. So like I mentioned, a complete turnkey approach for this. The homeowner is covered up to $8,500 per repair per incident. So there's no lifetime limits on this. If there was an incident that happened tomorrow for the homeowner and they had it taken care of, and unfortunately if something were to happen a month later unrelated, again, they would be covered. So with the coverage itself, there are no service fees. There are no deductibles with this. And like I mentioned, no lifetime limits, so they can file as many claims as they needed to do so. Another benefit to this that I like is the fact that we only use the local licensed plumber to complete the work. One reason for this is, one, it helps keep the local dollars in the business in the community here, and two, it just ensures that all the work that is done is brought up to code and is, completed under your guidelines, so everything is to par with how the city likes to have the work completed. The way the license contract would work, it could go one of two ways. You could certainly supply a list of contractors that you would like to have enrolled in the program, or we could just do some research and find some local guys, and then we would get them in the program and enrolled, sort of like in a bullpen, to where contractor A is called, contractor B receives the next one, so on and so forth. Excuse me. The third program available to a homeowner is the external or the internal water lines, and that covers them up to $3,000 per incident, and that's every water and supply line once it daylights inside the house. So it covers stuff such as clogged toilets and lines that are embedded underneath the concrete slab or underground. Same as the water and sewer lines, there are no lifetime limits, deductibles, or service fees. And with both programs, we have a 24/7, 365-day call center that is on hand to field these calls. So, like I mentioned, the customer.
I didn't mean you to
Sure.
stop mid-sentence. So you said for the internal, it is clogged toilets, or it wouldn't be like my plumbing breaking in my wall. It would have to be underneath in the basement floor?
No, those are just some examples. So
Okay,
yes,
so
yes,
anything
yes,
inside.
Yeah, anything inside, yeah. So what they say is kind of once it daylights inside. And that's why we like to work with the city too, because I'll take a step back with the external lines also. We make sure that it's tailored to wherever the city's responsibility stops and the homeowner's responsibility picks up. So from the very spot where a homeowner has to be covered for that, it takes on from there.
How do you handle pre-existing conditions?
So there's no inspections prior to, so there would be really no way of us knowing if there was a pre-existing condition prior to. So if there's an incident that happens and the service is interrupted and we have to dispatch a contractor to take a look at it, it's a new condition to us because we were not aware of anything pre-existing to that, because we don't do any kind of inspection. There's no underwriting on it. So once that contractor's out there and he takes a look at it, it's covered for that. Tree lines is a good example of that. If someone has an oak or whatever it might be that's penetrating those lines, yearly cleanup, something like that would be covered.
I'm sorry, go
No,
ahead.
that's fine. I mentioned the local licensed contractors to complete that work. So back to the 24/7, 365 availability. That is completely in-house on our end. So the homeowner contacts us through whichever means they chose to enroll, whether it be, they can go online, but they would call us to the call center. We then dispatch a contractor to come out, and they have within an hour after us contacting them to be in touch with the homeowner to get out there. And then from there, there's a 24-hour time where they have to be out on site taking a look to see what it's going to take to get that service restored. The main goal is to restore that service back to the homeowner as quickly as possible. If it calls for a repair on the line, then the homeowner or the contractor will complete the repair. If a total replacement is called for based on local guidelines, then that would be what the work is done to do so. And that's another reason, like I said, with the local contractors, they know best what the local codes call for. So those are the guys that are on the ground to know whether a repair or replacement needs to be done to make it moving. So go ahead.
If the plumber comes in and they see that the plumbing is not to code,
So
will they take the responsibility to bring it up to code?
Absolutely, yes, yeah. They need to get that work done and get everything up to what the city's code calls for. So the marketing approach for the program is fairly straightforward for the city itself. There's very little involvement for a city to be a partner with this program. We mail we contact the customers or the homeowners through direct mail only. And that would be several times a year per campaign. So you've got an external water and you have an external sewer line that would receive direct mail pieces to it. The interior plumbing would only be made aware to a homeowner after they've enrolled in one of the other two programs. And from there, it would just be a mention on the phone or an email or an online correspondence, however they chose to enroll in it. So you've got the two campaigns that would receive the direct mail piece to it. With the partnership, there is a marketing letter that goes out several times a year that has the NLC service line logo on it. It has the city's logo on it. And the verbiage simply states that, the NLC and the city of Emmitsburg want to make you aware that there's now an optional program available to you. So after that, your involvement would simply be really just approving that language and that marketing letter prior to us mailing it to the homeowners. Nothing ever goes in front of the homeowner until you've received an approval first. So if for whatever reason you weren't comfortable with the letter, you weren't comfortable with the language, you didn't want to mail that time, you simply just wouldn't approve it, and then we would skip that campaign and circle back to you next time around for the next mailing. And like I mentioned, there are several ways for the consumers to enroll. They have the toll-free number that would go out on the mailer itself. They could return the bottom letter to go to them that way, or they could go to the website and enroll as well. And it would come up as Service Line Warranties of America, which is our consumer-facing product. With this program, currently we are over 400 partners across the country throughout these 34 states, and like I mentioned, 12 here in the state of Maryland. So we've got a strong presence. This program has exceeded over 140,000 customers nationwide in terms of people that we've helped out, and has saved over $90 million in repair costs for these sewer and water lines across the country. So we're seeing a good presence. It's making a big impact in the communities, and it's helping the homeowners out because on average, less than 30% of homeowners across this country can afford such an out-of-pocket expense of, the national average between $2,500 and $4,000 to complete this kind of repair, because a lot of times they're not aware that that line is their responsibility. So it's not something they were expecting, and it's an unexpected expense when something like that were to happen. Of that 30% that do have the savings, more times than not, it potentially just depletes whatever savings they might have just to get that line, saved. So, the size of the $90 million dollars that we're saving is a big help across the country. When we enroll and we have one of your homeowners as one of our customers, customer service is our top priority. You know, the program's in place to help homeowners out, and they're experiencing a trying time. So when they have to contact us, it's a difficult time, and we want to make sure that they're getting the best customer service possible. And by doing that, we can report a 95% customer satisfaction rating over the last 10 years since we've been doing this through the NLC. How that works is a survey that has gone out to every single homeowner that files a claim with us. The survey covers their complete time spent with us, from the initial phone call they made to our customer service, to their time with the contractor, and the overall satisfaction of the work that was completed. You as a partnering city also have access to an online portal that allows you to monitor and see how many of your homeowners have enrolled and the claims that have been filed, so you too can see that the cities and your constituents are being taken care of and they're happy with the work that's being completed. Along with the survey and the customer satisfaction, another benefit that I do want to point out to the city is the revenue share program that we have available. As a partnering city, you have the option to receive a small revenue share that's paid back each January, and it's based off the partnership and the enrollment that we have in the program. So when you take a look at the three campaigns that we have available, the external water, the external sewer, and the interior plumbing, the city can see 50 cents per program per household that goes back to it. So there's a potential for $1.50 per enrolled house that you could see on a monthly basis, and then we would pay that each January in terms of a royalty check. If it's not something the city's interested in, you can simply decline the royalty program, and we just redistribute those savings back to the homeowners by just lowering the monthly premium by 50 cents. So it'd be a slightly lesser premium from them to pay. These are all of our partnering cities in the state of Maryland right now. I passed Thurmont actually right on my way in, so I guess those guys are one of your neighbors. And like I mentioned, we are partnered and endorsed by the Municipal League as well.
Just a couple of questions that have come up
Sure.
from
Yes.
outside this
Yes.
room, so I'm asking them.
Sure.
So, first of all, people would like to know, I know we're talking about in the town limits, people that are still 21727, but outside the town limits, is this available to them?
Only if they're our water and sewer paying customers.
Okay, so if
If
they're
they
not,
are
then
on
it's
our
not.
water and billing system, then they fall under the same rules of where the responsibility starts and ends.
Okay. Then the second question is my plumbing's leaking. It's filling up my basement really quickly. I know you'll call me back within 24 hours, but if it's an emergency situation,
So no, they'll call you within 1 hour to assess what's going on, and then from there they would understand that it's an emergency situation and they would be there as quickly as possible. The 24-hour is the maximum amount of time that they can go before they have to come out. So they have to be on property within 24 hours of speaking to you. So obviously in an emergency situation they would roll out quicker.
Turn your water off.
yeah.
I mean, that's something that a lot of times the city will have to come out, and shut the water off. It all
Right.
depends on situations. But yes, no, the 1 hour response time is to contact you. 24 hours is the max before they could be on site.
You have down there WSSC Water and Sewer. Is that all of Montgomery County and Prince George's County, or?
I would assume so. I know it's over 500,000 water customers, I believe. So yeah, I would assume that would cover all of Montgomery County. I'll check on that for you. Like I mentioned, my colleague Ashley handles the state of Maryland, so she would know better than I would on this one.
Okay.
Do you have questions? Or do you want to come up?
Thought I'd save them as a list.
That's good.
Conrad Flessner, I live in the village. I'm also a director for a small homeowners association,
If you could identify, when you say the village,
Emmitsburg,
you live in the town of Emmitsburg, could you give your street address? We need to know.
11 Seton Place.
11 Seton Place, very good, thank you.
Yes, my questions have to do with the coverage. Looking at your website, it mentioned that there was a generous allowance if there was cutting of concrete sidewalks or asphalt roads. And I know looking at my curb box, I guess it's called the water access, it's in a sidewalk. So that would you know, if there was work on that, it would have to be, the sidewalk could be disrupted. But the sidewalk is within a homeowners association. Does that allowance apply to that?
And when you answer, I'll ask you to also use the microphone so we capture it on the record.
Yes.
Yeah, the $8,500 that's in place is to cover anything that would fall on the homeowner side of the issue, and then it's also allotted for any kind of city sidewalk or street or, you know, homeowner association that would have to be cut into if there was an issue with that. So that's actually why we increased the coverage. It used to be at $4,500 with additional available. We just decided to raise it up to $8,500 to increase the coverages on it.
Okay, and now for interior work, I didn't really look that closely at that, but you mentioned, you know, lines and floors, lines and walls. Is there some sort of an allowance for repair of, you know, the concrete and the floor, or?
So that $3,000 per interior, that would cover the work that was done. So anything that would exceed the $3,000 on that would be either a homeowner's insurance policy, if it would be loss of property, or something that would be out of pocket for the homeowner itself.
Okay. So if the total cost is more than 8,500 external for external work, or more than 3,000 for internal, then the homeowner has to make up the difference.
Correct.
Okay. Well, that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I believe that was my next point, was the questions. So,
Okay.
yeah, I think that was it.
Mr. Ritz, you want to go?
Yes, thanks. Regarding internal and external, could you help me out again with that?
Sure.
Where does internal begin in your mind, in your opinion, your policy?
Right.
And where does external begin?
So we state it as the point of entry, or, you know, wherever it daylights inside the house. So I would kind of, you know, point the water supply lines that are, you know, right behind the walls, and then where it would come in to the pipe itself. So any type of interior plumbing, I guess, once it daylights, point of entry is how we describe it.
So at the house,
Yes, correct.
not the curb box.
Well, that would then be your external, the external side of things.
Okay. Because currently we have a policy in place where the water line, the owner's responsibility is from the house to the curb box.
Okay,
So part of that would be external then,
correct.
because it's outside of the house.
Mhm.
Same with the sewer. It goes all the way to the property line. I think it's what. Yes.
Right.
Okay.
And that's one of the reasons why a partnership, and why we try to communicate with the city first. So we want to identify and make sure that exactly where that homeowner's responsibility is, because every city is a little bit different. You know, sometimes it's a curb stop, sometimes it's a meter. So we make sure that it's covered from wherever the city's responsibility stops and the homeowner's picks up. So it would be from there.
Okay. One more.
Sure, absolutely. Floor is yours.
Other than the endorsement from NLC
Mhm.
and I guess the Maryland Municipal League, what sets you apart from your competitors? I did a little research and I did find some that offer the same product
Sure.
for lower rates.
Sure. So I can't speak to competitors and how their programs work, but in experience and knowing how our program differs, I would say a couple of things would be the no service fee, or no deductible, no service fee when you have to file a claim. A lot of our competitors, I believe, have some form of deductible that you would have to pay, or have to pay out of pocket just to have a contractor come out to take a look at it. So ours are free of charge on that. And so you're not paying out of pocket at all for any kind of instance, as long as it's under $8,500. I would also say our experience as well. We've been with the NLC for 10 plus years on this, but as a company as a whole, we go back to 2003. So we've been involved with this for quite a bit of time. And also, too, the fact that we are working closely with the city to work with your local contractors. So that's another thing that would set us apart. Again, I can't speak to the specifics of some of our competitors, but I am familiar with the fact that most of them do have the service fees and the deductibles.
So I just want to thank you. I think you do fit a niche. That it's optional is nice. When I called different homeowners companies, they explicitly will not cover these things. It's written clearly that they will not cover them. I talked to about 4 or 5 different homeowners insurance companies.
Correct.
As we go forward, I'm sure I'm speaking for everybody. I would like to make sure that all of our plumbers in Emmitsburg have priority, access
If
to
it-
be part of the program.
If it comes to pass.
If it comes to pass.
Right.
Yeah, that's correct. The homeowner's insurance does not, cover these kind of lines. And that's the unfortunate part, because the homeowner then is vulnerable for a large piece of pipe that's on their property. So you're not just dealing with the pipe itself that needs to be replaced, but sometimes you're left with a trench in the yard. So that's where something like that really comes in handy. And it's a complement to homeowner's insurance, because your homeowner's insurance is going to cover property loss that you might have inside. That is great, but then this now also gives you that coverage to take care of the external stuff as well. And again, it's completely optional. So there's 2 parts to it. It's an educational program, if nothing else. You're speaking to your residents that's stating, like, we're aware that this is an issue and the infrastructure is aging. We want to let you know that we've taken a step forward to make this program available to give you a form of protection should something happen.
Any other questions?
I'm done.
I'm okay right now.
Yes, sir. If you come on up and use the mic, and the trick is we have to have the microphone used so we have it on record.
Conrad Flessner again. Do you have any idea about typical costs? Like cost per lineal foot for various lines, or typical median cost or something like that?
So on a national average for these repairs externally, we see somewhere between $2,500 and $4,000 per repair incident. So if you were speaking, typical cost per monthly premium, I don't have the exact cost in front of me, but I do know that a water line would range somewhere between $6 and $8 a month per month. A sewer line would range somewhere between $7 and $8 per month, and the internal is a pretty flat rate of $9.99 per month. That's pretty steady across the board. So those are the 3 ranges for the monthly premiums. And I'll add to that too that they are monthly, so there's no annual contract associated with it either. So if a homeowner enrolls several months down the road, they're not. So, and something happens, whatever might change their mind, they are free to cancel at that point with no penalty or cancellation fee or anything.
Okay. A number of questions for you. I'm very dubious of this for a variety of reasons. This is a warranty and not insurance, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so when we go inside the house and there's an issue, who picks up the check first, the insurer, or homeowner's insurance, or the warranty? So, for example, if there's a ruptured pipe in the property, where, to use your term, it daylights in the household, who's paying first?
We are. The contractor is billing us, and we are paying the contractor. So there's nothing exchanged with the homeowner themselves.
Okay, then why not the insurance company if one has homeowner's insurance? I mean, that's the assumption.
So the homeowner's insurance would come into play if property damage was in place. So if a basement flooded and couches and tables or carpeting needed to be replaced, that's where the homeowner's insurance would come in. Ours is strictly for those lines and those pipes.
Okay, in talking to some of the homeowners insurers, they explained that plumbing would be repaired. So it seems like we're paying 2 times for the same service inside the property. I mean, it kind of contradicts what you're saying in that. In talking to, who was it, State Farm, one of their statements was that, if it's inside the property, then they would pay for that repair beyond just damage, the actual replacement of the plumbing itself. Now, the other side of it was, and this is, most of the homeowners insurance agreed with what you were saying, but they did say, and a different insurance company said that if there is a water line rupture on the property, they would not touch the pipe itself, so we're all in accord on that, but they would repair the damage related to the water pipe. So if it were on the property, and they said that it would be up to 100 linear feet. This one insurer said, if the household has 100 feet of pipe, that first 100 feet, any property damage that results from a rupture in the pipe, they would address. So there is some, I don't know, it seems there's some gray area. Earlier you had mentioned the National League of Cities. How much was paid to them to endorse the product? Because I know that you paid MML, the Maryland Municipal League, and you'd also mentioned the Maryland State League. Do you mean the Maryland Municipal League,
I'm
or is there
sorry,
a separate
it's,
group?
it's the
Or-
Maryland
okay.
Municipal League. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
So how much did the National League of Cities receive as an endorsement?
I'll have to get back to you. I do not know that answer. That's
Okay, but they
above
were
me.
they were paid for their endorsement?
I don't know, to be honest.
Okay,
To be
all right,
perfectly honest
that's
with
pretty
you.
important to know,
Yes.
because to get their endorsement and to have it paid for, again, that kind of casts a shadow over the endorsement. The next piece concerning how to phrase this? I'll give you a break for a second. Ms. Willits, in the town of Emmitsburg in the past year, how many residential property water lines ruptured?
Wouldn't always know that.
Okay, but have we
We
heard
just
anything?
actually had one come in last week.
And where was it in town? Do you know offhand? It wasn't related to the sidewalk work?
No,
was it?
no,
Okay.
it was a private residence in
Okay.
town.
Okay, and it was a fatigue thing? Do we have any ideas what caused it?
Aging.
Aging, great. Okay, all right. So that works to your advantage, certainly. Any other knowledge of others, though?
We have
Beyond,
had-
like outside of Main Street, because I know the
Well,
work's going on
yeah, obviously outside
sidewalk
of Main
stuff.
Street. Yeah, we get. I can't tell you exact numbers. It does happen. We do get calls for staff to come out and look.
Okay.
There's been, just off the top of my head, this year, that one out there, maybe 5.
Great. Okay.
But I can't
Three.
tell you all. I don't know.
Sure.
We don't are
Okay.
not always contacted.
Okay.
I've had 3 where I've
For you.
found plumbers to come out as emergency situations.
Okay.
Right.
On the warranty itself, what exclusions can exist? Like what would not be covered? Like what would be excluded? Is there any language there that exists that would say this is where we draw the line? Because right now it sounds like everything gets covered. So I want to make sure we have clarity on what's excluded.
There are some exclusions, but again, that varies. And when we have a marketing letter and we had an agreement drafted, we'll be able to look at that specifically. But for the most part, everything is covered. It wants to cover everything from shifting of the ground, the aging infrastructure itself, like I mentioned, a burst pipe, a thawing of a frozen line. So it's a warranty that's in place for just. I would say if a natural, like somebody was digging and they cut the line themselves doing some yard work, that would be an example of something that it would not cover because
Sure.
that was more or less of an accident rather than so it's like a natural cause. So, but we could definitely define that once we would see one of the marketing letters.
Okay. Could we see it before a marketing letter? 'Cause
Absolutely.
That would be
Yes. Yeah, we
kind
could
of
get one.
contingent upon
Sure.
endorsing
Yeah,
the
that's
idea.
typical. We could get you one of those.
Okay, so far we need to know how much National League of Cities received for the
Mm-hmm.
endorsement, and what the exclusions will be.
Correct.
Okay. For the opt-out, how does one opt out?
They would.
If one is signed up and they choose to no longer participate?
Sure, they could simply call to cancel the program. They could go online through their online access if they wanted to. Very similar ways to how they would opt in. They could easily opt out as well.
Okay. In reading Better Business Bureau listings, people seem to have had a great deal of difficulty in their opt-out. They've had a great deal of difficulty with customer service.
Okay.
And those two concerns regarding the 1 hour time versus a 24-hour time for a response, that's kind of a concern. And the opt-out piece, there's some folks who are saying that they're purchasing 3 services and they're trying to pay for the 3 services. One's deducted automatically. They signed up to have another one deducted automatically, and that money's not being taken. They've been going saying, "Hey, take my money," and it's not happening. For the opt-out, I've read more than a few write-ups where folks are saying when they try to opt out, they're not being responded to. When they make phone calls to say, "Hey, I want to opt out," they're not being responded to. And I didn't see anything with written correspondence, but the phone call and the online system don't seem to be serving that very well.
Sure.
I think that would be definitely a concern. For the WSSC, the lawsuit that occurred, there seemed to be, if I understand the nature of it correctly, a great deal of confusion related to the WSSC logo being used with the company's logo, and effort wasn't made for clarification. And I'll say this: I know that we have a number of residents in town who, are very sharp tacks and they read things carefully. But I also know that we have some folks who are older, and when they read something like that, it might not be perfectly clear to them. What's done to make sure there's absolute clarity for folks like that?
So the biggest thing I could say is, with whatever happened with the lawsuit, we've taken great strides to correct that and make sure that is has been corrected, and we have modified and changed the marketing letter to where it is much clearer. We recognize that there were some issues and there needed to be changes to that. So we've modified that language, which you would see prior to. We'll definitely supply you with copies of that, which is an editable agreement as well. So you take a look at it. It's a template. We can make changes. The biggest thing is there is absolutely nothing that is in front of your homeowners until you have fully approved it completely. So not until the council is completely comfortable, or whomever you've assigned as an account manager, if you will, has approved it, then we would put it in front of the homeowner at that point.
So the next item is the mailing list of residents in the town of Emmitsburg.
Mm-hmm.
Is the expectation that we turn over a mailing list of our residents to your company?
You certainly can if you want, and that makes it a little bit easier for us, so we know that we are hitting every single one of your utility bill, with, like you mentioned. If you are not comfortable with that, we can use a third party such as InfoUSA to generate a mailing list to do that. With the mailing list, it is only used for the mailing purposes of the program. So only several times a year would a homeowner receive a letter from us based off of the mailing list that you either provided or we provided ourselves. So it does not go to anybody else. We do not sell it. We don't do anything of the sort.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate your candor on these. I'll turn to the board at this point in time, unless other folks have questions for the representative. Anybody? No? Staff? No? Nope. Okay. I'll turn to the board members who are here. Unfortunately, Mr. Sweeney, Mr. Blanchard aren't here. Again, my concern is this notion of endorsing a product as the town. Now, Mr. Sweeney made a really good argument in the last meeting, or the second to last meeting, when we talked about this, saying, but we do buy services as a town, and we use those services, and therefore that's a form of an endorsement. And I do agree with that, but typically in that circumstance, it's for a specific need that the town services that we're responsible for, there's a requirement for it. Now, this is something that's, one could argue, might be a requirement, but it's not a necessity requirement. Does that kind of make sense? Mm-hmm. Like, it's preparatory for a disastrous event, but it's not for a disastrous event. Whereas everything we've been asked to endorse for purchasing purposes is to address a specific, there's a real need, we need to address that real need at this point in time.
Understood.
So I'm trying to differentiate between one type of endorsement and the other type of endorsement based on what was presented there. What I'm looking for would be criteria that we would use that would be consistent. So when a pizza place comes in here and says, we want to be the official advertiser and we want the town to sign off on this advertisement so we can offer everybody in the community a special on this pizza, right? And what's our criteria? I mean, we want to serve the greater good. I mean, that's kind of where we're coming from. But what I don't see is, as a board, how we can endorse this without opening up Pandora's box to endorsing other items such as this. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm very reticent about that. Now, what's unclear to me is the marketing tool that's being presented, where if we choose as a town to not partner on this, the product is no longer available to us. And that's a real curiosity. Mm-hmm. I mean, I see special offers, and what's it going to take to get you into this car tonight? There's kind of a high pressure piece here that I don't cotton to very much. So those kind of lay out my major concerns here.
I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you reached out to just to relieve some of your concerns, because I've spoken to the town of Thurmont and John Humerick down there, and I don't know if you've had any discussions with them, and because they had similar concerns that you're speaking of, and their initial concern was with the letter that went out, and they worked with the company, and they came up with a letter that was or agreeable to both parties, and after they worked out the kinks, that it is a program they're extremely satisfied with. But I don't know if it would help you to maybe reach out to them.
It was so new with them at that time when I was making my calls on that. So, no, I didn't contact them, but I contacted folks in Nevada and California and I think Utah.
We would be better served reaching out to at least maybe somebody here in Maryland that has the similar.
Sure, no, I understand.
and
I mean, but there are,
Town and
but
Thurmont
bear
both
with
have
me.
aging infrastructures.
But these are also old towns as well. I mean, granted, they're, more toward the west, so they're not necessarily, our,
Right.
vintage per se, precisely. However, not one municipality to whom I spoke had an answer of it being tested. They all had it in place, and they were all very satisfied that they had something that was a safety net, and that's reasonable. But nobody had the event where there was the line replaced, where there was the disaster that took place for the property owner.
Well, that's good.
Well, it's great. That means, the infrastructure is standing, but at the same
Right.
time, if I can't see something used, I don't know if it's going, I want to turn the car on, I want to drive it around the block. I want to see someone who's done the same thing. And I don't wish bad luck on people
Well,
in town.
this one that we
but-
just had was a line that ruptured out in this person's yard, and it had to be completely repaired. Now, had we had this program or they had something,
Right.
we would know the outcome of it.
Correct, sure.
And
I agree. I mean, it's a good
I
hypothetical.
mean,
but-
with the Maryland Municipal League, I don't believe, and this is just my opinion for whatever it's worth to anybody, I don't believe, you had money talks, but I don't believe the Maryland Municipal League is going to risk their reputation on a product they don't believe in or haven't tested or vetted themselves. And that's just, like I said, this is just my opinion.
Sure. I agree with you that I don't think they would risk their reputation, but at the same time, it just strikes me as a paid endorsement is a paid endorsement. That's always something I'm a little reluctant about. Like if I know firsthand from somebody who has firsthand experience with something, if they say, I bought this and it works and it's something that you would consider, that helps. But, for better and for worse, we don't have that at this point in time. So the other part is, again, that criteria piece of how do we choose who we partner with? I mean, do we have a set criteria for something like that? Do we have a program that says, okay, here's our set of ethics-related questions, okay? Are we serving the greater good? Okay, is this for the health, safety, and welfare of our community? Well, it does seem that way, okay? But at the same time, there's what any person would look at and say, well, that looks like a kickback to me if we get funding from it. Or if we set it up into an account saying, oh, well, they chose not to take the kickback and they took the high road on it. Again, there's the kickback. When someone's being paid for an endorsement, they're being paid for an endorsement. I would imagine most people have a price for many things. I don't drink coffee, but Starbucks could buy my endorsement. Starbucks, if you're out there. Okay, but
Please come here.
more to the point, I'm reluctant to endorse this because I think there are too many openings for poor decision making on our part. So that's kind of where I am right now. The WSSC lawsuit, it sounds like it was mitigated appropriately. That's fine. There was a settlement, I think. I don't think there was a punitive, conviction or anything of that nature. But I think, there's, in my mind, I have some very real concerns about this item. And I hope I have at least add clarity as to why I have concerns and doubts. So, now, Commissioner Buckman, you also say that there's an alternative. What could you offer us on that one?
So, for an alternative, the Frederick County Department of Housing does provide 0 interest or deferred loans for emergency situations if your sewage or your water lines or your internal plumbing or other things goes awry. It's something that has to be paid back. So it's not gonna make you, have to sell your car to fix your plumbing. But they are zero interest or deferred loans, up to $15,000.
So you would have to front the cost and ask the county to pay it back?
No, they actually send somebody in to assess the situation. They pay for it, and then you pay them back, or however they work that out.
Do you mind if I have staff look into that? Because
Yeah,
I read the
no,
program
absolutely.
differently. So I'll have staff look into it because I took it a different way.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Now, in
look into it.
your interpretation, did you see that there was an upfront cost paid by the property owner? Is that
I
what
did
you
not
were-
believe that it covered your sewer and water line repairs. I believe that it, what's it say on there,
Well,
something?
there's new well and septic, so I
Correct.
see what you're saying.
New well and septic or.
Other emergency repair items.
Right, so I think there needs to be some clarification on that.
I'll
And again,
call
like you
Susan
said, that
Brown.
is, you're still gonna have to pay for it,
Right.
so, but we can certainly have staff look into it.
Okay. Any other questions or any other items?
Well, no, I mean, I've shared your apprehension in the endorsement as well. Just a question for you, just, your company only exists or only operates through the endorsement of a municipality. It's not like a resident of Emmitsburg can just contact you directly and say, hey, I'm interested in your program. Do you have some sort of
So
payment structure with that, for their peace of mind, just to utilize your services or another similar type company without an endorsement from the town of Emmitsburg?
So that's correct in why we seek a partnership, and it has to go with our partnership with the National League of Cities. They want to make sure that we're putting forward the best program available to a homeowner. And over time, we saw that we had a higher enrollment when we had a partnership with the city first, because it showed there was a connection and a cooperation with the company in this city. So by having the partnership and a higher enrollment, it allows us to offer a better program with lower premiums and no service fees and no deductibles. So kind of to your point about, why a partnership, and it's just the fact that it allows us to put a better program forward, and we would rather put a better program in front of the homeowners rather than a lesser program and having them to have to pay and bring more out-of-pocket expenses to that.
Okay.
Mr. Ritz, I have a hard time with that. I do. I'm sorry, but that's almost insulting. I mean, it's a competitive marketplace, and if your product is of quality, if it's good and it competes in a competitive market, it will thrive and flourish. And the smart people of your entity would modify whatever the product is to meet the needs of the marketplace. The other side is you have a good marketing tool. That's why you have a higher return. You have a vehicle to get the message out with an endorsement that's a valid endorsement that people trust, and that's the tool. I'm a little concerned about a statement like that. I'm very concerned about a statement like that. I find that somewhat inappropriate, quite frankly.
Okay. I apologize if I offended you by it.
Mr. Sweeney, good evening. Hello. How are you, sir? So just to bring you up to speed, we've heard the position of the utility service. They're sharing the program, the overview. We've had one individual who's had questions related to it. I have aired my concerns, and there are many, and the other commissioners have shared some information that they have as well.
Okay.
And I think that brings it to where we are.
I'm fine.
Okay, all right.
Your fees, are they locked in for 5 and 10 years? Are they
It's a yearly.
yearly?
Yearly.
Okay, what's your experience in the increase in fees percentage?
But- I believe it states that it could increase between 3% and 5%, but I have not seen it increase. I'm not saying it doesn't, but I haven't seen it yet. But the language in there says that it could.
Okay.
I have a question. What's your vetting process for your plumbers? Because I know that would be a concern also. I know me being, a single person in my house, I would prefer a plumber that was vetted, that I know that's going to be there, within the time frame that you say? I mean, what's your process for, you say locally, for vetting these plumbers?
So that I know that they have to be local and licensed in the community to do so. We have a contractor services department that works specifically with the plumbers and enrolling them in there. I could get specifics as to what their criteria is for vetting. That is another reason why we sometimes tend to lean on preferred plumbers from the city as well, because you've given us the ones that you're comfortable with. But I can get specifics on the
Right, so
criteria.
you could reach out to local plumbers, or local plumbers could reach out, if the program was approved, reach out to you if they expressed interest.
Sure.
I know when it comes home to repair, trust is very important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And a lot of our elderly people get taken advantage of, and all of us single women and some men get taken advantage of by contractors. So in this way, it would,
Right.
Be locally.
I don't want this to be profit off of someone's fear either. I don't want it, in this letter, I don't want to create fear for people, that they feel like all of a sudden they have this.
No, I think it's more about educating, because a lot of people do not know where their responsibility begins and ends, which we tried with the last policies we passed, the last water billing, the newsletter. We try to educate people, and I don't know if people don't understand how much the cost of the repair would be. Do they need to start budgeting for it? I'd say, and I believe that he is correct, that the majority of people cannot pay for these repairs out of pocket and need options. My homeowner's insurance doesn't cover it.
Mine
So
doesn't
I
either.
think it's based on who you have. And so not everybody has that opportunity to either have insurance or participate in a program. And that things like this could financially destroy them in the long run.
And that's my argument then too. I'm thinking,
Yes.
to pursue this program, or shop around yourself, or take the money that you would be paying and put into an emergency fund yourself. And
Right.
if that event happens, then there you go. Or you could use it for another emergency. So that's just how I feel.
My feeling is, well, I know I got here late. 2/3 of Emmitsburg probably couldn't afford to pay the $8,500 out of pocket. I know I can't.
Sure, that's a fair assessment.
We had people come in here with sewer breaks and stuff. We could not help them at all, period. Did you remember that? I don't know if you remember. They had to take loans out, and I think they had, and they couldn't even afford to take the loans out. I can tell you, the whole inside infrastructure of the town itself is old, over 50 years or older. Where I live and where Elizabeth lives, and Joe lives. All of our infrastructure and our housing and most of our piping is, unless it's replaced clear to the line, is old. Which this will benefit. I know, an 80-year-old or a 90-year-old, or my mother-in-law's 92, she lives by herself. On a fixed income, she couldn't afford anything that broke. If it broke, she would be out, or all of her kids had to get together and have to try to fix it. I am for this program. I was for this program when it was here before.
Sure.
Because I think it's optional for them to choose the insurance. They don't have to take it.
There are other services out there that don't
Yeah,
require.
BG&E, like you told me.
Right,
Yeah,
but
I've seen your email.
there were 10 other in a listing that I saw. I don't know if they all serve our region though, so I won't say there are
Right.
at least 10. But those don't require the town endorsement. And what my chain of worries first begin with, as the town, we don't have a criteria for what we're endorsing and not endorsing. And the other side of it is, like you say, there are options, but there are options with other warranty providers that come in at a similar price point, but don't require the town to be the marketing partner. They don't require the town to take what it seems to be a kickback. They don't require the town to be part of the mailing in that marketing. Like other companies do provide a similar service,
Well, the money that they're saying, what is it, 50 cents a house or 25 cents?
I
don't
think
know what it
50
is.
to
the-
$1.50.
Something along those lines.
Well, that, we can allocate to go to another service, or, I mean, not for the town, can go to,
Like emergency service for
Emergency
the store. No,
services
and
for
I
any,
understand
you
that,
know,
but
I mean, that's what I mean.
it's a kickback's a kickback. That's kind of what, I mean,
You could also decline it. If you don't, you can decline the royalty program, and we lower the premium by 50 cents to the resident.
or a dollar or whatnot.
Yes, you don't have to take the 50 cents,
Correct.
$1.50, but
But-
we could use that to go something else.
To emergency
Like,
fund.
well, we
programs.
have an after-school program that we pay for children, it could go to that. You know, the extra money, we pay 20,
Sure, there are uses for it. I'm not
Yeah.
arguing that point, but my concern is that,
that we're endorsing the,
there's similar products that are offered in the open market. And
nobody else is coming in here.
not yet.
I reached out to one, which I told you, and they have not gotten back to me at all.
Okay.
The thing with that is that I know, and it was the one that you shared with me, the BG&E. So they're getting a mailing. I haven't seen it. I don't know if anybody else has seen it, but so they don't have, they're not mass targeting not everybody's getting that
Sure.
opportunity.
Right.
Because there is no partnership. So they're not I didn't see it. And so I didn't even get the opportunity to do it. I reach out to them looking for more information. They don't even answer me.
But then if we partner with this entity, who else do we partner with? Because we open up ourselves to setting a precedent that we now partner to market things. We are now for sale for our endorsement. We now have some means by which anybody who wants to market virtually anything, and then when do we say no? How can we say no? Like it's
That would be, and I disagree, and that would be a question for John Clapp, because I see this as different. This is a service. It's not a pizza. It's not retail. It's not that. And this is something that could potentially benefit your residents. I see that different than you endorsing a restaurant, a pizza,
Sure,
things
sure.
like that. And
And then you were, I think,
let
also.
her finish. I'm sorry.
no, I'm done.
Okay. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm
No,
sorry.
you're fine.
Go ahead.
I think
Sorry.
you were also referring to sometimes residents try to fix the problem and they damage the town's pipes also. That also becomes very prohibitive for the town.
Sure.
Right. And if there's a partnership, then, like say BG&E, they don't know where our water and our sewer lines were. After the meeting that we had with him, there would be, not with him, I think it was Ashley that came to the office, the share of information so that this company knows, you know, the responsibility. They get the phone call that says, hey, I've got this leak here. They handle it instead of them trying to leave a message here. You know, it happens at 8 o'clock at night. They call us. We don't get it till the next morning. I think with the partnership, there's more facilitation of information, where the water lines are, where the clean outs, the curb boxes, et cetera, et cetera.
But you're not going to get it all on Saturday and Sunday.
Not here,
No.
no.
I thought we knew more now with that GIS or whatever it is system
Oh,
in
we
place.
do. We know where it is, you know, but as far as, I mean, we're still plugging away at GIS. It's nowhere near ready to go.
Okay.
But no, for our end, we are working on that. I'm saying as far as if you don't have a partnership with a company or with for this product,
But if someone has a water emergency where, let's say, the line ruptures, and let's say they do go online, they have the means to go online. They go online, they see in an emergency related to water, contact, was it Jimmy Click or Mr. Fissel, Dan Fissel? So they might see that. I don't know that we have that tied into our answering service on the
We do.
weekends. We do. Okay, so should somebody have that other vendor, they would make the phone call and, you know, unfortunately, these guys would be,
but you cut out
Tagged in.
that problem if they call this
sure.
whatever vendor you're using, if it's this company or what not, they call this one. So it cuts out the lag time of contacting staff. Staff goes out there, we pay them their overtime, they get out there and say, sorry, that's yours. There's nothing we can do. And now they gotta turn around, you got your lag time, your downtime, your overtime, for them to call another vendor. call another plumber, call another company, instead of one central location where they can call. And if they would call in there, and this is my understanding, and they then can say, well, that's not us, that's the town. If they've called when it's not their responsibility, but it's
Sure,
one central
sure.
location for them to call.
Okay, so they call the line. Does the vendor get GIS then? Get that information from us?
It's not, we will provide them with what information we have, either
Mm-hmm.
the GIS or the plans that we do have.
So if
But
we
we
go,
do not, GIS isn't complete yet.
sure, no, I understand that, right. But what I'm saying is, in advance of any event occurring, we say, here's our schematics.
That was my understanding from our initial meeting, that we
Okay.
would, now, as you know, it's an old aging town, old infrastructure. There are some lines that we
Right.
don't know where they are.
It's supposed to be here and it's over there.
And it's
or-
not exactly where it says it is, but when it comes to the water, for your residential hookups and things like that, we have pretty fairly accurate plans.
Okay, well, I would like to know if you would be able to ask Mr. Clapp about the endorsement piece. And that, where does that endorsement end? Meaning, can anybody now come forward and with the board's approval, receive an endorsement permit, so to speak? Because that's a concern. I mean, if we set the precedent
I
there
don't
as well.
understand what you mean by endorsement.
Well, we partner with this entity and we endorse it by giving them our letterhead and they use their crest. And we are part of their marketing program where this gets mailed out to houses saying that, we want you to be aware, we, the town and they, the business, we want you to be aware that your sewer and or water line might be in jeopardy due to age. We partner on that. I mean, that's the language that he used.
Right, but then it is under jeopardy. All
No, sure, no,
infrastructure
always is, yeah, sure,
Right.
everything decays.
Well, even the
from
new,
outside.
I mean,
Right,
I'll give you
sure,
an
sure.
example, Silo Hill, Silo Hill, yeah, Silo Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Silo Hill was a new development, and most of them had to have all new water systems and stuff put in again
Sure.
because of the red clay. We have red
Correct.
clay here, or red shale rock.
Right.
And it tends to shear off and
Useless.
rot. It's hard on your copper and stuff. It'll rust, it'll eat it.
Well, the endorsement is from
I see.
us for this product.
Right.
And basically, my question is, if this group comes in and asks for our endorsement, can anybody else come in and ask for our endorsement?
Yeah, but we don't have to take it.
I don't know. That's the question. If we do it for one, don't we have to do it for everybody?
What about the solar? Was that the same way we took the solar and
How so?
and we took a contract on it for 20 years? So we're endorsed that there's this company that everybody was, we're going to pay this rate for so many years for 20 years.
Okay.
How long is your
So the standard agreement is for 3 years.
so
we
yours
could-
is only 3 years. After that, if we don't like it, we don't have to you do it anymore. It's a 3-year agreement.
But in the meantime, if somebody comes in, are we obligated to partner and to endorse the thing? And
You
it-
don't have to use your system, correct? If my pipeline breaks and I don't want to use your
No,
plumber, I
it's-
can get
it-
my plumber.
It's a
what I'm saying
completely
is the
optional.
offer. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Finish what you're saying. Sorry.
No,
I was just asking a question.
Sure, sure.
Even though you do have the service, you don't want it, you don't have to use.
No, I understand, but Cliff, that's phase two. I'm talking about phase one,
Mm-hmm.
where we provide the opportunity for that person to opt in or not. Okay? That phase one where we provide, here's this opportunity. We've endorsed this program. You don't have to sign in.
Yeah, you
But-
don't have to use it.
Correct. But I think, number one, there's going to be confusion there, which is something that I've seen other folks say, putting forward their criticisms of it. Okay? And the other part is, if we endorse it, someone else is going to come along and say, hey, well, I've got a product I want you to endorse. Okay?
But their
And-
program's only 3 years, so if there's a better product comes along, we
but-
don't have to take this for after the 3-year
But I
program.
don't mean just this warranty idea.
Yeah.
I mean any product. Somebody can come forward and say, the town's now partnering with businesses. I want you to partner with my business. So we can make that offer. So a person can have the choice to or not to do the thing, whatever that offer is.
We partner with all the businesses already, locally in town.
Not this way. Not this way. Not where we're directly marketing to people. Not
Hello again, what's EBPA?
BPPA is a non-government entity.
Yeah, but we're a partner.
We're a
Are we
member
part-
of it. We're a member of it, but we're not in leadership of it. We're just a member of it, okay? We
Yeah,
support.
but all the letterhead, our
we
letterhead
support-
goes out
but
on all the stuff.
We support the business, okay? And are they a profit or a nonprofit entity? That I don't know.
Most businesses, I guess, want
No,
to
no,
make
no.
a profit in town.
Is the EBPA a profitable entity or a nonprofit?
No, I'm not talking about the organization itself. I'm talking about the businesses.
Okay.
We have
what do you mean?
partnership with all the businesses in town by being a member of E EBPA.
Not like this, no. Not where we're directly marketing into people's homes these items. Like where there's a direct mailing to Mr. Clifford Sweeney.
What EBP? I've got mailing from EBPA, from direct mailing from them before for meetings for everything.
To make a
Come
purchase?
join. Come join.
To make a purchase.
I purchased in their businesses. Of course they would if you
No,
could.
no, no,
buy
no,
it.
no. No, trust me, I support our businesses, but what I'm saying is, okay, have you received something from the EBPA saying, buy this product? This is endorsed by, John's business and the town of Emmitsburg. Have you received a direct mailing that said that? And I don't think you have. Whereas this is that case where we would be saying, here's the offer coming from the town of Emmitsburg and this business partner, okay? It's coming from us together as a team. And we're selling this to you as a team. You don't have to buy it. That's phase 2. But phase 1 is the marketing piece, okay? Whereas EBPA, we're encouraging the networking of businesses, an association of businesses to help them. Again, we're trying to float the greater good.
Well, this will be with the local plumbers, mixed plumbing.
You're right. You're right. We hope so. So long as they they pass the vetting, and I can't imagine why they wouldn't.
Well, that's
Okay.
the local one here.
Right. But where I'm going is, in that first step of the process, anybody would be able to come in, it seems to me, and receive an endorsement from the government, from the town of Emmitsburg, from the board and the mayor, from the town of Emmitsburg.
They can come in and ask, but you don't have to give it to them. You can
I'm
endorse
not-
what you wish.
I'm with you, but I'm not sure if this opens the door to that, though. Mr. Ritz, yes, sir.
What if something bad happens? Let's say we do sign up and someone's sewer line breaks and they get it repaired and something bad happens. Homeowner then might seek some litigation. Are they going to come after your company? Are they going to come after the local plumber? Are they going to come after the town of Emmitsburg,
It's the town
who has
of Emmitsburg.
endorsed your company?
No, they come after us. The agreement that we would have before we have any kind of partnership set forth completely indemnifies the town itself. So it's on us. The marketing material that goes to the homeowners is not stating to purchase this. It's letting them aware that there's a program available if they wanted to enroll in it and take advantage of it. And everything is directed towards us. So we facilitate everything completely. Outside of the name and the logo on the letterhead, there's nothing else to the city itself. So everything is on our shoulders.
I
And
can
we-
still
and we-
see it
So
happening.
should there be
though.
litigation, would the town be reimbursed for its representation?
They'll have to take a look. I believe that's how the language in the agreement is stated. I believe.
I'm sorry. Could I get a copy of what the letter looks like as well as a sample of the agreement for
Yes,
our town attorney to review,
Absolutely.
which would answer a lot of these questions?
Yes, I'll have that to you tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
Great, that would be a big help.
And just, with our seal up there too, it's, you never know
Right,
what could
exposed.
happen.
Well, you know,
sure.
anybody can sue anybody.
Correct,
And that's,
absolutely.
For
you'll never
anything.
protect yourself from that. So if I do get that, I can send that to Mr. Clapp and get his opinion on these issues or
But I
these
can
questions.
see endorsing a product too, as Mr. O'Donnell is saying. I would agree that it worst case scenario.
Well, that's why you got to be curious. That's why I'm curious to see what the letter actually states and how the actual letter is worded, and get Mr. Clapp's opinion on it.
All right, thanks.
Okay.
Just for me.
Mr. Mayor, yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Moving from hypotheticals to an actual case, about 10 years ago in January, our sewer line broke, and we have a run that's about 80 feet out to the property line. And terracotta, we have a 160-year-old house, so it kind of, and it ended up costing us about $12,000 to $13,000. Plus, we had to go through the it was Lent, about Lent, so the penance of having talking to the town, and they're telling us it's not our responsibility, so we naturally got mad at the town, and then we got finding a plumber who could actually do it and have the equipment, and so for about 90 days it was pretty tough deal, but it cost us $12,000 to do, and this is an actual case, and I sure would like to have had somebody pay $8,500 of that, and I think the thing we're looking maybe the town is you have 400 towns in Maryland, or okay, and in our county you have two, Tawnytown and then Thurmont right there. I mean, what kind of endorsements would be better than that? And you may pay MML for their endorsement, but I tell you, they wouldn't accept your money unless you were a fairly reputable company. They wouldn't take, they blow the whole deal on that. And I don't know anything about the National Associate League of Communities, but I imagine they feel the same way. But I don't know. That's an actual case. It was misery. I would love to have just made one call, and it was done.
Sure.
That's all. And then they take care of it, and then I can just scream at you and the plumber you send. It was tough. It's a good alternative, and we have unique things here. If you ever did one of our things, there are sewage lines that come out of a house, and then they'll join in. And so whose responsibility is that? It's crazy, but that's all. That was just an actual case, and it was miserable.
Yeah.
You just couldn't. You had to wash your dishes by hand in order to have the facility, commode work, and everything like that. You had to cut back on this and do that and whatever. So
Sure.
just a case.
Sure, no, that's and it's appreciated.
I don't mind them. Partly it's sort of, but because it's all we're doing is tell them here's an alternative. And if we can put that in the letters they send out, hey, we can sculpt that letter any way that make you feel comfortable. This is just an alternative for you. And our endorsement is that we just want to offer you that as offer this thing. I don't know, and let John Clapp pull the rabbit. He pulls the rabbit out of the hat. Clapp.
The Mayor Kennard endorsed it, correct?
Yes,
And so did the Tawnytown?
yes, Jim. Oh, yeah.
I think.
Their towns are just as old as ours.
But Commissioner O'Donnell raises really, really good points.
Yes, I understand. But the bottom line is, we up here have to make a decision what is best for the whole complete town, not just certain parts of it.
Right.
This benefits probably 2/3 of the town if they would like to take it. The newer houses and stuff probably won't take the insurance. I can guarantee it. They're not going. My house is brand new. I'm not paying for this insurance. My sewer line's brand new. My water line's brand new. But I know all the older people, even the ones who own the apartment buildings and stuff, probably will take the insurance. It benefits. This is my opinion.
Sure.
It benefits our town to have it because it helps with repairing. Most of the repair will be done by the plumber that we have vetted or they have vetted. Most likely the plumber for our area is Mix, which is 24-hour service. I do know that. And then they come as soon as you call them, they call you directly back within that 24 hours, and they will be there to fix it or look at what's going on. But I know Mr. Kennard wouldn't have took it if he didn't think it was right to take it. I know him pretty well, and I can't see Thurmont and Tawnytown taking it, endorsing it, and it not and being bad for the town.
But again, listen to Mr. O'Donnell.
I understand his thing. I know he did. He
Mr.
does.
Sweeney, I'll say it this way, and here's where I'm coming from. Number one, I'm not worried about the age of the house, okay? I'm not talking about my neighborhood or my house. It's
Right,
a
no,
newer
I'm-
house. But bear with me. I mean, you kind of inferred that,
Well,
but bear with
Tell
me.
him about new houses. I'm talking about.
Correct, okay. I do make an effort to represent the entire community, and I'm a cheerleader for the community,
Yes.
for the whole community.
Right.
Now, moving beyond that,
You don't think
Service,
this would
a
benefit?
service like this is a benefit to the community, but not in this format. Okay? Where we, the town, have to be the partner on it. Okay?
And why do you feel that way?
Because I feel that we expose ourselves to litigation. We risk the issue that in the market system, in the free and open market system, there's competition. Okay? And this is their mode of advertising. I don't see it as anything beyond that. I see that they've had success in this, and therefore they stick with it. The success they've had might be with the product to a point because it has value, I agree. But it's a marketing tool, and I don't want us to be used as a tool, okay? All right, now the other side of it is, if we as a board support the idea of this, perhaps it's in our best interest that we start bringing more information to these meetings about other groups who also provide the same product, so we see that competition. Or maybe we direct staff to do that, okay? But the reality is, if we don't endorse this, okay, this entity says, nope, we're not gonna offer it to you, okay? Now, you the other day mentioned exclusiveness and exclusionary behaviors, okay? I'm all about equity, I'm all about inclusion, but I'm also about protecting our citizens. I'm not taking the high ethical road, but my fear is something seems amiss that we don't have an inclusive offering here. It's a very exclusive offering here.
Because nobody else came in?
No, because the way the product is being offered. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, question. If in this 3 years that we have this agreement, another company like it comes in and wants us to back it, is that permissible?
Yeah.
No,
So
we,
wouldn't it
or
be-
yes?
we ask that we are the only ones that you allow to use a logo.
Yeah, but
So-
after the 3 years, we're
Yes.
allowed to choose who we wish.
Yeah,
Correct.
absolutely. 3 years. 3 years is the starting point on the agreement. It's editable.
When you
It's
say you
editable.
ask, though, are you asking or are you requiring?
There's
contract?
non-exclusive language in the agreement that states that a similar company cannot come in and use your logo as well while under an agreement with us.
In that 3 year
That's part of the
For 3 years,
partnership.
you want a monopoly on this.
Which is, no, that's standard contract. I mean, we have
That's- Sure,
contracts with
sure, I
other
understand.
vendors at the town, and it's 2, 3, 5-year contracts for their services. I mean, that's standard. Like I said, I think the best thing we can do at this point is send it to John Clapp, because that's the only way we're going to get our questions answered.
Sure.
Because a lot of this is opinion, and I think until John Clapp gives us what is
right.
actually the truth as far as the legality and any potential lawsuit, I think we need those questions answered before anybody can move forward.
Fair.
I have just one more question. Of course, another one might come up. If there is a natural disaster, let's say, I know we're not in an earthquake zone, but if we have an earthquake,
I've been here when there's been.
will
a-
our, okay,
Yeah.
enough to break our plumbing outside of our houses for, a percentage of the town. Our homeowners insurance will cover those kinds of things?
I don't believe so. no.
Will you cover those types of things?
God?
Shifting of ground is covered and something like that.
How about flood?
Again, to Mr. O'Donnell's question earlier, I'll have to get specifics on what is and isn't covered. I don't.
The only reason why I say that is because since I've been alive
Yes.
in the last 50-some years,
40, Mr. Clifford.
50,
40.
I'll go 50-some, I won't go how many, but our town has been completely surrounded by water a couple of times.
Sure.
And flooded.
Okay.
Yeah, one
Many,
time.
many houses and sewers and the waters and stuff like that, and had,
Mhm.
and it would be helpful if we knew that it was covered by that too.
Sure. Yes, that'll be outlined.
That's a natural disaster. We do have it every
No, no, no.
50 years. We might have
Hello,
50,
Pat.
100-year flood.
Trying to keep the mayor under control over here.
I was tapping instead of clicking.
Sorry I
on the
come
pen.
in late and cause a big problem.
Decorum, Mr. Mayor, decorum. No. All right. So, moving forward, the board, I feel we've given direction to town staff related to contacting Mr. Clapp. It
Yes.
sounds like you have a firm handle on what we're asking for,
I do.
and we're asking for it. Mr. Merton, did I say that correctly?
Meston.
Meston, I'm sorry.
That's fine.
You will be providing information related to exclusions, related to the language of the contract, related to water issues like
Natural
flooding,
disasters.
natural disasters. Are there any other things we want to see highlighted or forthcoming? Oh, the National League of City endorsement fee, what was paid to them, if something was paid to them, I believe it was. And then, any other items that we want to ask to see?
A sample letter.
A sample letter, okay?
How, the vetting process,
The
right?
vetting process for plumbers.
Zombie apocalypse.
I mean,
Decorum,
So
Mr.
that's
Mayor.
on TV,
Decorum,
yeah.
decorum, all right.
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse,
There we
yes.
go, yeah.
All right. So, you're okay for that?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. Do you need the list repeated? Are you okay? You're
I got
squared
it.
away there? Terrific. Okay. Any other items?
That was it.
Go.
No.
I'm a married man, can I go?
Sir, anything you want to add? No? Okay. All right. Well, I think we need to let everyone go home. Is there a motion? Sorry. Any last concerns or questions you want to share?
No, I just, thank you for the
Joe
time.
has a
Thank you
question.
for coming.
No,
Very
I
quick.
don't.
Staff, any other items? Okay.
I always have that look on my face.
Appreciate your
That's okay.
candor. Not an easy place to be. We appreciate you coming here and being with us tonight, truly.
Thank you for the
Okay.
time. It was great meeting you all.
Is there a motion to close the meeting?
I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Is there a second for the motion?
I'll second that.
The motion's been made by Commissioner Ritz. It has been seconded by Commissioner Buckman. Is there any further discussion? Therefore, the call to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. The motion carries.
You're supposed to check Genesis